continue.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, now we are good to go. You have the stage.
Great. Nice to see you, everyone. So I will make an introduction to the project Ozkar because I don't think anyone knows about it. I discussed with some of you about it, but not in very specific details. So I created the project Ozkar with the vision to enable more use cases, more development around healthcare. And I see that Mina technology and zero knowledge proof can help to develop more use cases related to blockchain and healthcare, which I think has struggled so far to get adoption. It's still challenging, but with the usage of zero knowledge proof, we can develop many things and also ensure better traceability without exposing sensitive data. So that's why I started to work on this project. Everyone can go on this website that I will update, the docs.ozkar.io, to see the different use cases. I present them on the website. And so basically, there are many use cases that could be developed, but I have focused on specific ones. So I will just share my screen with the presentation. I have to restart because it's a new computer, so I have to allow the screen sharing and we open Chrome, so I will just reconnect in a few seconds. Okay, so I should be able to share my screen now. Window.
Now I guess we see it. Yeah.
You can see?
Yes.
Yeah. So just to summarize some of the healthcare use cases I see, because I think it's important that I share also. So part of the work that also as I have done in the Navigator program before was to research also the use cases, what is possible. So e-consent forms with blockchain. E-consent is used already in blockchain, and we can see that there are some projects like PharmaLedger which are using which are developing standards for e-consent. But in my opinion, they lack the benefits of using zero knowledge proof. When you do consent, you don't want to share a lot of your data, so you want to. If they were using zero knowledge proof, they could use, for example, zero knowledge proof to prove that the consent comes from someone that is over 18 without disclosing the actual age of the person providing the consent. So I think it's a strong use case and possibility of development for Mina technology. Privacy for sensitive biomarkers was one of the explored topics I had. And I worked on the proving of DNA, so you could prove that you have a specific gene inside your DNA, although without disclosing your full DNA. So this is an example which has like a lot of difficulties, a lot of challenge in terms both of performance and still compliance, because zero-knowledge proof will not do everything. So I worked on a peer proof of concept on Navigator's program, but I decided not to focus on this one at first because of the challenge it imposes. This has actually led me to the decision to use the use case I will to tell you about for um, the the current grant. Um, but you have also many other use cases like traceability of data exchange or traceability of data processing by generating proofs on chain. You can prove certain aspect of the data during your workflow, which is very important in some cases. And uh, you have also AI safety, that is a strong use cases. There was already some project with zero knowledge proof and AI where you can prove diagnosis generated by AI. So it's a strong use cases. And you can also use zero knowledge proof to prove data from Ozkar IoT, which is very important for the guarantee of the quality of the data in healthcare. So you have many use cases. My company is also developing a lot of open data uh, through generating API, etc. So I think with the technology of zk records, there will be opportunities to use some of this data to build software using on-chain to build software on-chain. So in healthcare, you have many data standards um, that are provided by open data, and by using zk records, you could import this data in a verifiable way inside smart contracts. So these were the major use cases. And so one of my conclusions when working with that was also that the challenge of implementation. So one of my main focus was to consider what would help healthcare implement faster and start doing things, actually doing things, and start to think like maybe we can use zero knowledge proof and in which cases. So this was like really my main focus, and this is why I decided to work on a specific standard, which is called FIRE. So the project is really like on this first part is really focusing on how you make the different actors of healthcare start using zero knowledge proof. Because beyond the blockchain aspect, zero knowledge proof are interesting, and the different frameworks that are provided are really interesting for healthcare. But we need something like to talk to these people that are not necessarily focusing on the blockchain aspect. I think the blockchain aspect will come when you generate zero knowledge proof. You need the traceability of the blockchain at some point. So if you start by making the actors of healthcare generate zero knowledge proof, use them, at some point they will need, not necessarily for all of the use cases, but they will need to use blockchain for the traceability of this proof. So that was my conclusion. And the idea was to stick to the FIRE standard. I picked this one because it's one of the most modern and most adopted standards. So it basically provide a format, a JSON format or JSON rules for generating your healthcare data that helps with the interaction of different actors. So the project Ozkar of this part of the zkIgnite is showing an example of how we can use zero knowledge proof to with fire. Okay, so I put some example, but there is a big project from the European Union to create European health data space for citizens to be owners of their healthcare data and to be also able to receive care in whatever country in Europe, and they are using the FIRE standard. I've put also this screenshot because it's also used by private companies like Apple for their data. Apple is providing ways to develop mobile apps using the FIRE standards also in their framework of development. So the goal is to stick with this kind of application. I've put also NetPlume, which is another library that helps you build healthcare application with React. So if we build something that is smart enough and easy enough to use, we can like make developers consider how they can connect their current development workflow with zero knowledge proof. Okay, so that's how I designed this architecture that will for which I will do a quick demo after. So basically, I also use like simple components that simple everyday components that help that should help not necessarily individuals but organization like hospitals, uh, uh, software providers develop their own framework and deploy their own infrastructure. So the goal is not here to directly put in the hand of individual their zero knowledge proof for healthcare, is to provide tools for organization to deploy an infrastructure for zero knowledge proof. It's important to explain because you will see that not everything will be fully decentralizable, because you will have like, for example, a cloud prover. So not everything is fully decentralized, but the idea is to present an architecture that makes feasible and where the different actors can project themselves into. Okay, so the four main components are these ones. So it's resilient proving workflows architecture using temporal, not IO. It's easy to deploy open source software, or you can use also the SaaS tool. But I created a temporal server that will follow the proof generated in a resilient way. So it's like a very resilient way of generating workflow, long-term workflows. It's used by many companies. So this will be what is generating the proofs against JSON data. Okay, a GraphQL API. So I created with the Nest.js framework a GraphQL API where you can just send queries with file resources and what you want to prove, the query you want to prove. So, for example, you see on the demo UI, I want to prove that I weigh more than 70 kilograms. I will send the query that I want that says I want to prove this, and the JSON data in file format. Okay, so that's why it's also important to remind that it's gonna be executed. Like the demo is a UI for simplicity of understanding, but it will also be executed in a backend by backends. Okay, in the way I see it. The third component is the program query called zkIgnite that was uh, created by a contributor of the community, and I also maintain. I'm currently upgrading with OneJS 1.0. So it basically prove queries against JSON, and there's still a lot of improvement to do, but it's a simple JavaScript library that you download. I have made many difficulties in making this library in easy to import and use in a backend server. I don't know if other had made this difficulty, but I've shared also this feedback. And the last components is the demo UI that I will show you. So these are the four main components. Okay. So I will go to the UI to show you how it looks like. Do you see it right now?
Yes, we see. I see it at least.
Okay. So, like I told you, we have different use cases for Ozkar. So I put them here. I call it the playground. So if you check on GitHub, it's called the playground because the purpose is really to showcase the different things that you can do with Ozkar. And so the sequence I told you, like, is to prove a gene in a specific in DNA. With sequence, it has a lot of challenges. I will not show it today, and it's not in the scope of zkIgnite. Then we have Fire, the Fire dashboard. So it's classic healthcare dashboard. We will go through that. And I started to add one that was not in the scope of the Ignite, is the clinical form. Is when you do clinical trials or you have like a healthcare professional that comes to your place or create a trial, they can fill some data and execute proof as they go. So for example, I use the clinical forms for sleepiness. So it's just a test about how sleepy you can be, etc. And I'm trying to adapt it to generate proof that, for example, you had a specific score in this form, or so that you can be also used the framework in a clinical trial context. Okay, so it's just in the making. This one, it was not the scope, so it's just the content format. Okay, what is interesting is the fire dashboard. So on this one, I need to have a wallet. I will have to move to another. So I will connect that with my wallet. So I use the wallet to sign the queries and to create an account where you'll be able to store proofs and recollect them when you want to use them in zk apps. Okay. So right now, also the project is not focusing on creating zk apps. It's really focusing on generating the proper proof and making them easy to use in a wallet or in a zk app. Okay. So here, this is my dashboard, some data in fire format. So what it means is that it's a classic dashboard where I just like added a proving button. And if you go through a code, it should be easy to understand how you convert how you enable proving features inside your current dashboards. Okay, so it's very simple. So what I will do here is I will create a proof that I'm over 70 kilograms. Okay. So these are data attributes used in the classic Fire format. So they are displayed here so that Fire developers understand what they need to add to the proof. Basically, you need to prove specific aspect about your JSON. I will prove that my value is over 70. Okay, if I wanted to prove that it's over 76, it shows in red because the actual value is 75. So I have a warning that the proof will not be able to be generated in advance. So it's really, I really also focus on user experience to see how we can create a good user experience with the zero knowledge proof system in the context of healthcare. So I'm adding this proof. So I have a summary of the proof that I want to generate later, and I can confirm. So the proof is prepared. So if I wanted to create several ones, I will prepare my queries, what I will want to prove. I can put several ones, okay, here. And when I'm finished, I will say, okay, so now I want to generate the different proofs, okay. So if I will send them to the cloud provider. So it's just a means to not be waiting for 10 minutes in front of your browser. And if you have any issue in your browser, then you have to start everything again. So I think it's not possible to provide this kind of experience right now. And so I will send the proof to the cloud provider. So I mean, I need also to trust the cloud provider. So that's why I was saying that I focus on specific contexts where you want like collaboration with different hospitals, etc. And it still needs to be in a safe environment to be executed. So I will sign the query that I want this proof. So the data will be signed, and now it's sent to the cloud provider. Okay. And I will see. I will check two different things. So it's pending. So it will say pending until the proof is generated. So I think it takes 5 or 6 minutes to generate everything. So I will probably not go over it right now. But just to explain you some of the details. Where is it? I will show you the temporal. Can start the temporal server. I will share my code as well. So I'm just starting the temporal server because I don't know why it went down. Uh, okay. So if I go back here, open. Sorry. Link to yeah. So yeah, to also explain, so there is a GraphQL API, a classic GraphQL API where you can. So I have not cleaned all the queries, but basically you can get the current workflows that are ongoing for or the proof that are ongoing for the user, the current user. You can get the results of the proofs that were asked for, that you asked for. Um, the different workflow status, so where it is, and you can request just a specific proof that you already generated. Okay, so I started to create APIs to easily manipulate this ecosystem of proofs. You have also GraphQL subscriptions, etc., to build UIs. So yeah, so since I started again my temporal workflow. I can get my current proof. So I already had a completed proof for this. So I have a bug with a library today that I'm trying to solve, but you have on UI the possibility to download the proof. So basically you can download it and use it in wherever you want. I think like in the next phase of Ozkar, I will work on zkApp that are actually using this proof. Okay. And what you can see is also like the workflows in your temporal flow are ongoing or finished, and you can see here in your temporal flow the proof. Okay, that is going to be downloaded. So there will be also some techniques to work on how safe the environment needs to be and how we should work on encryption in different parts. But basically, you have the proof available here and the API. So the API is just talking with a temporal workflow and maintaining also a database for users, etc. If you want to manage like history. So yeah, that's basically it. So the next steps are also to make this application live, to provide also some for adverse events. So you could prove that you have specific adverse event. So with specific disease code. So that's why also I said like to build like fully fledged SK application, you will need also to bring open data. Etc. Because when you want to work with symptoms, they have official codes, so they will be you will need to potentially use them this official disease code inside your application. So we'll need oracles and things like that to enable more and more application. Okay. So yeah, the next stage is to provide a way to deploy everything easily. So make the application live and Helm chart that allows to deploy your API, your temporal workflow, and you're ready to start. Basically, that's it.
All right, perfect, perfect. Thanks, Robin. Do we have any questions from our audience? I see some applause. Yeah. Maybe I have a question. Do you plan to also like launch on mainnet, or do you? Yeah, if yes, do you have a timeline in your mind?
Yeah, so right now, since I have not done like a very specific zk app, and it's really focused on the proof generation workflow and making it closer to real life use cases. I have not worked on zk app, but I will probably everything will be ready for mainnet because I'm upgrading to everything to 1JS 1.1, so it will be ready for mainnet. What I will be interested in also is that I saw some wallets like Palad that are helping you manage proofs. So I think it will be very compatible with this kind of tools. I will explore also this how I can integrate with this.
Yeah, Palat's
Yeah,
gonna
yeah, yeah. Public proofs, but yeah, we can talk about that later.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tomek. Tomek is gonna present today as well.
Yeah.
All right. Any more questions for Robin, or seems not? Thanks for your presentation, Robin. It was great. Yeah.
Thanks.
I'll just stop the recording.